Hey y'all. Hurricane Melissa has wreaked havoc on Jamaica, Haiti, Cuba, and other countries in the Caribbean. Homes and infrastructure have been destroyed, and many people have already passed from the storm. I've dropped links in my description box to some relief campaigns. Please, if you have the means, consider giving what you can. Love Jones, a dazzling directorial debut draped in romantic cinematography that weaves the love story of two artists in Chicago. From the surface, the film's stunning shots and ability to seamlessly draw the audience into a realistic portrayal of the friendship, relationships, and lifestyle of young Black adults in Chicago sets the tone for the romance of the ages. As the film progresses, however, I quickly came to realize I would be leaving the film not with the dreamy afterglow of a love story, but rather stuck contemplating ego and how a fear of looking the fool can wreak havoc on a relationship. The opening chords of Dion Ferris's Hopeless sound before the first picture appears, the lyrics reverberating a story of struggle and resilience, of persevering through feelings of hopelessness on the heels of mistreatment in a past relationship, and having the strength to move forward. Waves of nostalgia intertwine with the melancholic mood set by the song as we're led through the city of Chicago through the lens of a photographer. The black and white filter heightening these feelings of nostalgia as the audience peers through a window into the past, the lack of color adding on to feelings of melancholy. As the intro progresses, we're presented with close-up shots and people posing for pictures, a clear indication that someone is taking these photos and alerting the audience that we're viewing the city and current pictures through the perspective of a photographer. This also lets the audience know that the emotions captured in this opening sequence belong to the photographer. Throughout the beginning of the sequence, the emotions of the photographer's subjects are stoic. Near the end of the sequence, however, more smiles appear on the faces of the subjects, with people actively moving around in the scene, a contrast from the stoic and static shots seen prior. The amping up of the mood to something more jovial, moments before the camera pans to Nina Mosley, our protagonist, and her ex-boyfriend locked in an embrace. In this moment, Nina is both photographer and subject. Her looking in on herself establishes a separation from the scene. Nina is granting the audience a glimpse as she strolls down memory lane, with memories shrouded in grief and sadness, but also of joy and love. As we cut to the next scene, we see Nina looking out a window in reminiscence. This shot a perfect picture of angst. The blues in the scene reflecting a melancholic and mournful mood as we learn she's currently going through a messy breakup and has decided to give up on love. Shortly after, we're transported into the spoken word scene in Chicago, entering a space draped in expression, creativity, and sensuality. The mood of the scene dripping with romance and tension, leaving me foaming at the bit to sink my teeth into what I believed would be the romance of the ages, only to find out I'd been hoodwinked, bamboozled, led astray. It's in this scene we're introduced to our love interest, Darius Lovehall, and his group of friends. Their conversation slips into a discussion about romance, and Darius, the ever-insufferable poet, makes the declaration,
"Romance is about the possibility of the thing. You see, it's about the time between when you first meet some fine-ass woman and when you first make love to her."
The quote and the language in and of itself is romantic, yet I can't overlook the glaring irony in Darius's words, because it's possibility that causes the multiple conflicts in his relationship with Nina. The possibility of love not being reciprocated, the possibility of being betrayed and hurt. This fixation on possibility that at its root is truly just ego and a fear of the possibility of looking the fool, turns a film directed and shot with all the possibilities of romance at its fingertips into a live action play-by-play of one of my homegirls on and off again situationships that I pray till I'm sweating blood like Jesus in that garden eventually comes to an end. Upon seeing Nina at the bar, Darius is immediately captivated. In a moment, Nina asks Darius, "What are you thinking about?" To which he replies,
"A woman I saw once."
His words could be read as suave, but looking down the line at the pitfalls in their relationship, his flirtations speak to a problem that exists between them, a lack of directness. While at times Nina cracks the door open and exposes glimpses of vulnerability, both tend to play their cards close to their chest. Following their encounter at the bar, Darius recites a poem that he slapped Nina's name onto last minute. His reading had the potential to be a moment where he exposed his hand and showed vulnerability, but it falls flat because while it's suave and sexy and seductive, it's latent in the explicit.
There's nothing wrong with sex, there's just other topics.
Like what?
Bruh.
Something Nina isn't too shy to let him know later that night. Not long after their encounter at the bar, Darius runs into Nina at a record store his friend Sheila works at. Before approaching her, Darius passes Sheila his bag to hold. A subtle move that exposes an insecurity, however faint, and the rearing of ego. His actions reveal a desire to present himself at his best, as though he must put on a show and hide certain facets of himself to gain Nina's attention and affection. Darius sheds his worn brown bag because he believes it exposes certain traits and qualities about himself and his status that might be undesirable. As a result, whether he means to or not, a game is being played here that begun at the bar. He proceeds to make his move on Nina, and while there's a curiosity and attraction Nina feels for him, she rejects him as she's clearly still healing from a previous relationship and is jaded when it comes to future possibilities of love. And what does Darius do in response to her rejection? Oh, just steals her dress and shows up at her house unannounced and uninvited, because what is a romance without some #stalker activities? And obviously, she's going to invite him in because this avid pursuance in violation of privacy and boundaries is the epitome of romance.
And I figured if I asked again, maybe you say yes. If not that time, then maybe the next time. Till the next time became the right time.
His persistent pursuit of her is painted as romantic, a man who knows what he wants and is determined to get it. However, what I'm witnessing is a man comfortable doing the Cupid shuffle on a woman's boundaries and right to privacy, and a blatant show of ego. Nina is a woman who is clearly not ready to step into anything new, and while sure, she's interested in him, she's hesitant because she knows she's not ready. Yet still he rises, no Angelou, and continues to pursue her and press her because he can't sit in firm rejection. And no, the dope-ass shot in the following scene is not going to distract me from the nonsense relationship playing out on my screen. Okay, maybe a little bit. Following a night out with Darius's friends into the club, Nina and Darius hook up. The morning after their hookup, Darius confesses he digs her over an omelet, and they come to an agreement to continue hooking up. In their post-hookup debriefs with friends, parallel denial is witnessed from Nina and Darius when it comes to their feelings.
This ain't no love thing.
While bantering with Josie, Nina states,
You gonna have him or what? Girl, please. No. I would hurt him too badly.
while there may be truth in her statement, it's also bathed in ego. Nina is purposefully emphasizing the power she holds in her dynamic with Darius as a means of self-preservation. True, at this point in the narrative, Darius appears to like Nina more. It's evident from her interactions with him, though, that she's downplaying her own feelings and potential feelings to save face when shit goes sideways. Meanwhile, Darius speaks with Savan over a game of pool. Darius initiates conversation by asking about somatism, this concept of the one, before going on to admit Nina has got him down bad. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to see that he's caught feelings for her, yet he's committed to keeping his draw to Nina to the physical.
I just said the sex was good, that's all.
Just like Nina, Darius is denying his feelings because of ego. You see it, ego, even when he talks about making eggs.
I was in there cooking.
Wait. You cooked what?
Cheese omelets.
A cheese.
He perceives making Nina an omelet as an act of care that exposes himself and his feelings, as a display of vulnerability. The possibility of rejection on the heels of that act, or even having that care and vulnerability out in the open for people to see, prod, and pick at, is embarrassing. So he commits to denying his feelings. The parallels exhibited by Nina and Darius in these scenes reveal they both see the possibility of love down the line, but the possibility of embarrassment and looking the fool overpowers that revelation. Nina's ex, Marvin, pops back into the picture, and she decides to visit him in New York to sort through the end of that relationship.
I need to know if I still love him or not.
Remember what I said about Nina not being ready to get into anything new? Right. After weighing her options, Nina decides to tell Darius after her friend Josie says,
Tell him. Think so? If he snaps, then you got him. And there's no need to go.
The sigh I let out because, girl, this shit ain't exhausting. While I do believe Nina chooses to tell Darius about Marvin out of a desire to cultivate openness and honesty in their relationship, there's still an undercurrent of a game being played with this test, because that's what it is. If it wasn't clear before, it certainly is now that Nina has real feelings for Darius, but is saving her ego by avoiding fully facing these feelings. The conversation they have where Nina tells Darius her plans is one of the most frustrating conversations in this film. Two people, one more than the other, so caught up in saving face and protecting ego, who refuse to just come out and communicate how they feel.
We used to be in a relationship and I just haven't seen him in a while.
Hey, that's cool.
Even before Darius's indifferent response to Nina, you can see through his body language that wall getting built up. It's evident he's putting on a nonchalant attitude to not show that he has feelings and cares about her in any capacity. I do need to give Nina her sevens because she does try.
Darius, the only reason I'm telling you this is because I really care about you and I'm not trying to play you.
To which Darius replies,
And I appreciate your honesty. But we just kicking it, right? Go to New York, do whatever you have to do. Man, ain't got no rings on your finger.
oh girl, you might as well have spat in her face with this foolishness. Here this nigga goes with the nonchalance when we, the audience, can clearly see he's anything but. He was so quick to commit actual crimes, stealing my sister's information, stalking my sister to secure a date, but at a whiff of rejection in the face of actual vulnerability, he's running for the hills. Can we get the priorities together? The look on Nina's face when he's saying this, the disappointment in his lack of reaction and emotional response, is palpable. I'm more inclined to cut Nina some slack with her hesitancy, divulging her emotions to Darius, because she's yet to fully remove herself from an evidently messy situation. When she does expose herself, even a smidge, he slaps her in the face with indifference. She presses the issue a bit when she asks him,
So you're not mad?
Her question is more of a nudge than a push, however, and I can't help but feel frustration at her inability to push harder and express how she really feels about his indifference, and instead engage in these subliminals to save herself from hurt and potentially looking a fool. Though, when I'm looking at the fool she's currently dealing with, who can't offer even a morsel of vulnerability, I get it. Nina proceeds to step a toe across that proverbial line of vulnerability by asking Darius to come to the train station.
I don't know when you're gonna get this message, but my train leaves tonight at 9:30, and I don't know, maybe if you're around Union Station, you'll come down.
But homeboy is otherwise occupied and doesn't show up. This, coupled with returning to Chicago and catching Darius strolling down the block, arm in arm with the same woman that was slobbing on his knob, is enough for Nina to slam that door shut. She's tasted hurt, shame, and embarrassment, and she won't feel it again. Not for this fool. Speaking of said fool, I'm sure it ain't lost on anybody that I got a sliver of grace, if even that, to offer Darius. He read as an insufferably pretentious poet from Second Impression, and the stalking only sealed the deal on my less than stellar opinions of him. Outside those two glaring issues, it's the reasons behind his frustrating refusal to be vulnerable that really agitate me. Whereas Nina's struggle divulging her emotions does stem from ego, there's clearly a history of betrayal behind it. She fears looking the fool, and she fears the possibility of having her heart broken. Darius, on the other hand, struggles to express how he feels to Nina, and this struggle reads as stemming solely from ego, a fear of looking the fool, of surrendering power through vulnerability. In the next scene, when Darius is talking to Savon, he says,
I don't get stolen.
I don't get stolen. His verbiage constantly exposes his hand, revealing the truth behind Darius's aversion to vulnerability. Lying in being the loser in the relationship. His romantic relationships, and arguably platonic relationships, are constant power struggles where he desires to be the one in control. His refusal to surrender in this power struggle with Nina and relinquish control through vulnerability is because of a fear of looking foolish. Given the tumultuous relationship Nina just ended, and the fact that her next available prospect isn't the most emotionally available or communicative, it's fair Nina cools off that mess. Where she loses me is deciding to go out with Wood. My issue with Nina dating Wood isn't even because he's Darius's friend. Friend being in quotation marks, because I'm loath to call that tense antagonistic dynamic friendship. It's the intent. It would be dishonest of me to not acknowledge that even a teeny tiny piece of Nina was trying to get her lick back. If she had engaged Wood with genuine interest, free of any malicious intent, I wouldn't see an issue, to be frank. Sure, you can argue she's trifling by hopping from one friend to the next, but from what my eyes witnessed on screen, Nina and Darius's relationship was strictly physical. They have a clear attraction and feelings for each other, but only one party tried opening their mouth and communicating like a damn adult about said feelings. So to me, Wood is fair game. Now, would I have gone after Wood?
Hell no.
I cannot even begin to see the appeal. Even more so after Darius and Wood meet for the first time after Wood's relationship with Nina is exposed.
See, I got this new gig. Keeps me up, working all through the night.
I know all about that kind of job. Used to work the hell out of it.
Girl, shut the fuck up. You thought you ate that? Bitch, you...
This little showdown they have where they skirt around the topic of Nina and Wood seeing each other with gross euphemisms and objectification. Oh, spare me. It's also wrapped up in ego and rife with misogyny. Like, Nina, I'm gonna need you to leave both plates at the table. Leave both plates at the table. Unfortunately, after Wood's messy ass orchestrates a run-in between Darius and Nina at a party, Darius and Nina have an argument that ultimately leads to reconciliation and the two dating, officially this time. It's important to note there's two major issues hanging over Nina and Darius that will continue rearing their heads throughout the duration of their relationship. Nina's decision to date Wood and Darius's decision to see another woman while Nina was in New York. Perhaps the issues would have been resolved if they put their egos to the side and really address them. I don't mean through these surface level acknowledgments we witness on screen of the issues.
What the hell you doing running around with my boy? I mean, first you carry your ass off to New York, then you come back and don't even call me?
All you had to do was tell me that you were seeing somebody.
What are you talking about? I ain't seeing nobody.
They don't ever really divulge their feelings and work towards actual reconciliation and understanding. When they get back together, Nina simply invites Darius out for a date. They have a brief 3-sentence conversation about her seeing him with another woman, and they carry on from there. The distrust and resentment is never laid out on the table, and steps aren't taken to build back trust and dissolve that resentment. Don't call me when these unresolved issues and insecurities come back to bite. What follows their reconciliation is a montage of Nina and Darius living their best lives. You know you got it bad when you're out here playing tag and giggling in the park like a child. After this montage, however, comes reality, and boy, does it come crashing down hard. Darius gets a call in the middle of the night from Lisa, the woman he saw briefly when Nina left to New York. Nina overhears his phone call, and it's painfully obvious she has unresolved insecurities and anger around this call and Lisa, but she doesn't raise the issue. Rather, Nina allows resentment and distrust to continue to build up within her, manifesting in passive-aggressive gestures. Remember what I said about not unpacking things and refusal to lay that ego down, communicate, and divulge feelings? Following this phone call is a frustrating argument between two people who at this point clearly got no business being together as they are now. We're thrust into the midst of an argument surrounding the issue of Nina and Wood seeing each other.
Do you think I slept with Wood?
Tension chokes the room when Darius replies,
Well, I learned a long time ago not to ask a question I didn't want to know the answer to.
His response to Nina, underlining his own distrust of her that has been lingering in their relationship. Wanting to change the topic of the conversation, Darius reaches for his camera to dissipate the tension, rather than confronting the source of conflict head on. This leads an argument to ensue about a lack of trust in their relationship.
Will you stop? What are you doing?
You don't trust me?
No, I don't.
From Darius taking calls late in the night and having Lisa's contact, to Darius taking issue with Nina going to New York to see her ex and dating Wood. They've allowed insecurities and resentment about issues in their past to go unconfronted, at least not in any way that truly matters, and thus unresolved, leading to their insecurities and resentment festering in the underbed of their relationship, waiting for a tiny crack to form in an already shaky foundation. All this in the name of ego and an unwillingness to be vulnerable and open. Even when they do end things and are about to part, you feel the lack of desire from both parties to actually end things, but the idea of emotional vulnerability and exposure of weakness, the possible damage to the ego, is enough for them to remain pig-headed until it's over. Thank God for that. One would almost forget this was a romance movie watching this shit show of a relationship, but of course, it is. And Nina and Darius are going to spin the block and end up back together in a moment meant to be a romantic rekindling of two ex-lovers, yet it falls flat. Outside the obvious chemistry underscored by the beautiful cinematography of the film, the romance isn't hitting. Why? Well, the first time around was a mess that I didn't find romantic outside aesthetics, but more importantly, because of this.
And all that nonsense in the past, I don't give a shit about that anymore.
When all is said and done, can I really trust that these two have grown into people who can lay their ego aside and be open and vulnerable with each other to confront and navigate conflict? My money's on no. I can't help but clock how the final shot shifts to black and white, mirroring the opening sequence. Rather than hope, this last snapshot of Nina and Darius fills me with a sense of foreboding, because I perceive it as the loop continuing. The film opened with Nina reminiscing a past relationship ending horribly, and it appears to me she's treading down the same path to the same inevitable conclusion.